So good evening. Let the record reflect that this is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Today's Monday, July 13th, 2020. The time is now 7 p.m. I do call this meeting to order. We have a quorum of the trustees present. This evening, Mr. Stansberry will lead us in the pledges, and Mr. Rector will lead us in the invocation. If everybody will please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
That's straight. Heavenly Father, we come and thanking you for keeping us in great form and danger. We pray, Lord, you have mercy upon us as we continue to fight the COVID-19. Lord, we pray for TEA and all those who are putting their minds and their thoughts together to come up with a plan as we prepare for the start of school this fall. Lord, we ask for your continued blessings upon us as we try to do what is best for our staff and our students. And we come here asking your blessings upon this meeting. And we ask all that we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, for which sake we do pray. Amen.
Thank you, David. Terry. First item on the agenda is public testimony.
Yeah, no one signed up. I just wanted to make sure that we could.
Anybody want to sign up that's here? We good? Okay. Moving on, agenda item number 3 are the superintendent reports, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Cook.
Good afternoon. I was going to try to wear my mask, but I think it's difficult for anyone to hear me, so I've asked her to get the wipes, so when people come up, we'll just wipe everything off. So I think that way everyone can hear us better. So trying to stay sanitary while we take care of business. Hope you're all doing well. I want to first apologize for you having to receive so much on at your place as far as information, hot off the press. But unfortunately, we're in such a flux of change right now that we're trying to get the latest information to you as quickly as we can. And so we'll try to walk you through each piece. We prefer to have everything to you the week prior, so you have plenty of time to read through it. Please, I hope you understand that we're not doing that on purpose right now. It's just things are changing faster than we can keep up with them, and tonight we want to ensure that you have the latest. So we'll try to walk through it and answer your questions and give you time to look through it if you need to do so. First, I want to start with basically we're calling this AP Panthers Return to Learn, and trying to look at the guidelines that have been set forth that are trickling out to us. We waited all summer to receive guidance. As of last week, we received more definite guidance, I guess you would say. I don't know if it's final guidance, but more definite. Even some of that has a lot of recommendations in it. It's all about local control, pushing. You can even hear from the federal level. It's no one wants to kind of take a stand on one area. I don't want to get political with this, but I think we need to understand the landscape with which we're dealing with. So they're pushing it down to local. They're telling us you need to get kids back in school, and we feel like y'all, Ms. DeVos said, we feel like they're very educated people at the local levels, and they can figure it out. Well, yes, we are, and yes, we will figure it out, but we have to figure out what's best for our community. And they're looking at it from a very big landscape focus, and so we're trying to look at it for what we need in Aransas Pass. So lots of thought, continued deliberations, and really mulling over what is being proposed to us from the state and federal level. So with that said, I wanted to start first with looking at the home-based learning versus the campus-based learning. We shared that with you our last meeting. It's been out there as much as we can put out at this point because it's something still in development as we have continued to look at what that will look like. And of course, with our teachers not being on contract at this time, We're trying to work the best we can by pulling a task force of teachers in, and they worked with Ms. Dominguez to begin to look at the options of how that's going to look, how we'll streamline, so we work smarter, not harder, on and make sure that it's streamlined so parents and students can understand. So we're still in the development stage of that, but we're putting out information as we can and answering individual questions. A lot of parents have been emailing me, and I've been answering them individually so we can help them try to understand where we are in the process at this time. We're basically developing expectations in the framework so that when the teachers arrive back, then they can begin to develop it further. So I have to say that this has been, we've spent so much time since this started back in March really thinking about the safety aspect, which needs to be the driving force for the decisions we're making to ensure we keep our students and our staff safe. And then secondary, unfortunately, has had to be the component of the academic learning. And so we're trying to ramp that back up, knowing that the landscape is to give a choice of home-based versus campus-based. Not knowing that just a month ago, when we came to you in June and brought you the calendar that you, you'll see the June calendar. I put the April calendar that you adopted and then the June calendar. There's a reason for that. When we came to you in June and asked to revise that calendar, we had been strongly encouraged by the TEA commissioner to take a look at our calendars because they felt like there will be potential COVID increase and outbreak that would occur in the late fall, early winter or winter months, and that we might want to front load and add some days so that we have that time to take off when that hit. Or they proposed an intersessional calendar I shared with you about where it extended out where you start earlier but then you also end later, late in June. So we had all those options and we took it to the team and we looked at it and we thought about it from the perspective of our families, especially at such a late date, trying to revamp a calendar to that magnitude. And we thought that wasn't wise to do the intersessional, but we did see merit in adding time to the front of the calendar, if you remember, and that way we could go ahead and bring the students back, because if you remember in June, we were still sitting really well in our counties as far as cases. We were looking towards thinking, all indications were showing that we could potentially start school with everyone being able to come on campus. So we thought we'll bring them back, we will have safety protocols in place, and we will have that extra 3 weeks at the beginning to really find out what learning was lost in the spring, and we can jump start it, and we can really start rolling, and then hope and pray we don't miss any days. So the thought process, there's a reason for me reminding you of this. There was, at that time, the information we had, the lack of COVID cases in our area, and trying to think of what's best for our families, we brought this, and what we were being encouraged to do by TEA, we brought that calendar to you to start early and add more student days. Since that time, more information has come out. We've learned from this TEA as of here the 1st of July, middle of July, what is expected of us as far as guidelines and providing choice. And all that comes with that we've talked about, so I won't reiterate that, but the home-based versus campus-based, that's huge. That is something that takes months and months to do, and we're being asked to turn it around and do it immediately. We can do it, but we want to do it well. We want to provide a high-quality education for our students, not just provide an education because check the box, we did it. So the concern there, as we've been diving into the academic side, is the time. And so we've been pushing and trying to figure out how to make it work. It's been very uncomfortable and very difficult to think about how to prepare to bring kids back August 10th under those new guidelines. Then you add on top of that the uptick of cases that we have in our area. Parents are very concerned about that. They have been emailing me, and they've been calling, they've been talking to the principals. They're concerned. They're concerned about what's happening in our area, that we had not seen that, and now it's happening. We've had some children even in our area that have tested positive, and so it's a time that fear is starting to really rise more than it had even just a month ago. So we have to look at those pieces of this puzzle as we make decisions, and go back to, okay, we have these regulations of putting things in place that you need more time to make sure it's done right. And now we have the fear factor that has been added into, as we send our children back on August 10th, which is just a few weeks away, and they're saying that we haven't even peaked to that point yet. Are we setting ourselves up for the potential to cause more harm than good? And one email resonated with me from a parent, actually a grandparent, when she said, "Ms. Cook, I'm trusting you to make the right decision for my children." That's a lot of pressure. And, sorry. So we take this very seriously. I apologize. So with that said, I had an emergency meeting with my admin team today. And TA last week also gave us this phase-in approach of how to bring back a percentage of kids 1 week, and you have 3 weeks. 1 week you could bring back 25%, 1 week you could bring back 50%, and so forth. We talked about that. There's good ideas there, but the logistics of that is very, very difficult. So we continued our conversation, and long story short, we feel like the best thing to do is to delay the start of school, because we just feel like the landscape of where we are right now with the uptick of cases, and for the safety of our children and their families, we feel like starting school August 10th, even though those were very good reasons a month ago of why we wanted to do that, that has all changed now, and those reasons are no longer valid. They don't make sense in light of the fact that we could be putting our children in jeopardy. So we all agreed as a team that we would like to go back to our original calendar of starting August 24th, which gives us a few more weeks, with the caveat of knowing that in a month, we still don't know what will happen. The state could shut us down, the region could shut us down, but it at least gives us more time to hopefully see this increase become a decrease, and that way we can truly feel comfortable with bringing our children back on campus. I don't like changing like this. This is very uncomfortable. My team does not like this, and I don't like having to tell the parents one thing, then tell them something else. But I think everybody's begun to see that since this started in March, that's the way this has been. It's just like it is, there is no crystal ball that we can look into and know what's coming next. But we have to, I don't want us forging ahead just to save face. I would rather, as my grandma say, eat that crow than continue forward and hurt someone. I'll take the full responsibility for it, but at the time we felt like that calendar was the best decision. But at this time we feel like we need to take a step back and do what's best in the name of safety. It will also give us more time to prepare appropriately all of our safety protocols. It will also give us more time to prepare with our teachers to ensure that when the children begin their campus-based or home-based learning, that it's at a high quality of expectation that we want, instead of trying to put something together very quickly and trying to continue to recreate it while the children and families are trying to learn with us. So I'd like to stop there and see if you have any comments, questions about that portion. This would require, we can't vote on it tonight because it's not on the agenda. So I would be asking if you are you agree with this thought, to have a special board meeting Friday at noon. And if we could hopefully have 4 people be able to be there as a quorum to get this passed. Because I need to let parents know this ASAP. Because they need to make arrangements for their children and pivot again, which is very uncomfortable for everyone. But I'm hoping they'll see that we're doing this for the sake of safety and for their children instead of trying to rush something. So, thoughts?
When we talked, the last time we met, when we talked about our campus-based learning and our home-based learning, one of the things that you stressed, and I know because I stressed in the meeting, was the fact that this pandemic is so fluid. It's ever changing, that more than likely we would be sitting here again making changes, and I think we told our parents that. And I think reasonable parents understand the world that we live in today. We're trying to make the best decisions that we possibly can with the information that we have at the time. I mean, we didn't know there was going to be a surge in the area. Invariably, we're all elected as a governing body to do what's best for our community. And when I say that, I mean, everybody's concerned about their communities, but this board is governing Aransas, Madison ISD, and our 1,600 students. We have to do best what's for our kids. I know a lot of times people will use statistical information or compare to what, well, Rockport's doing this, or Jimwell County's doing this, or Ingleside's doing that. That's great. And I trust that they're doing what's best for their community. But I'm going to say this again, we have to do what's best for Aransas. And right now with the surge that we have, to be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable with putting the kids in the building at this time. I think the fact that we did change our calendar, we're at a point now that we can pivot. I don't believe there's any playbook or any one plan fits all for everybody in the area. We have to do what's best for us. And I'm glad that your staff, your administrative staff revisited that today. And to be honest with you, I'm glad to hear that you guys are recommending that we do that. There's a lot of fear and stress when you talk to parents. I mean, you alluded to that. I've talked to several parents that have a lot of questions. They want to know what our safety protocols are. You guys have done a wonderful job getting out as much information as you can, but they want more information. They want to know what their kids are going to be subjected to, or what protocols we're going to have if we're going to have athletics, or if they're in the buildings, or if they're on school trips, or during lunch periods. So, I mean, they're starving for information, so as much as we can, this gives us more time to establish those protocols. So I'm definitely in support of moving that date back. Will that mean that we'll have to add some time to the back of the calendar?
Well, in our original calendar, we had enough minutes to meet the 75,600 minutes, actually a little extra. Before Friday, before we bring it back to final approval, I want to visit with the team about maybe making our days a little longer to add a few more minutes to give us some cushion. We would, in that calendar that you see, that you have before you, it's got the April 2020 on it. That was the original one. You see that we had professional development built into the calendar for the teachers, which we had taken away to add more time with the students. But as we've learned how much is being required of our teachers, they really need that to be able to prepare appropriately for the students. So we would have those days built in. If we needed to, we could turn those into campus days. They could, where students came if we had to. So we have some days built in the calendar that could be flipped to become that time. And then the worst case scenario would be having to go into June if we had to. But right now, the way it stands, if we had to have a closure of a campus or the entire district, as long as we provide home-based online instruction, that still counts. So we're revving up to do that. So we should be fine unless there's some other unforeseen event that occurs, with us having the time already built in, with us being able to switch to everyone to online instruction if that's needed. We should be fine to still be able to finish in May. So the only reason that might happen is if we had many teachers get sick and we couldn't get the instruction out or something. So let's pray something like that. It would have to be a pretty extreme case. So we can still do it. We would lose the time that we talked about with that little extra funding, which that was just like a little final piece. That was never a driving force when we passed the other calendar. But that extra funding we would receive for having the students 180 days to help with some summer instruction, we would no longer get that. But I think from our standpoint, looking at it from this side, we've got to deal with what we're dealing with now and the safety piece now, and we can use that calendar to get us through this year, and then make arrangements for any instruction through title funding or something. We could kind of switch the use of some of that money over to do some summer learning if we need to. So to answer your question a long way, yes, it will be fine. It'll take care of our minutes, and we don't see any issues there.
Yeah, I want to say something else, and you talked about the chair of education. I don't know what her exact title is, but
Secretary of Education.
Secretary of Education. Thank you. I lost the word. They can talk about local control all they want. I mean, we've sat on this board long enough, and we know all the mandates that come to us left and right. That you will do this, and we're going to fund this, but it's mandated you do this. And now, when we're in a pandemic, it's awful convenient that they sidestep and go back to us, which is fine. To be honest with you, I prefer us to make that decision for our community. But at the same time, they're tying our hands behind our back because they control the funding. And our parents need to understand our way of paying for our public education is through state funding and through federal funding from our local property loan. And if we keep our doors closed and we went to a strictly online delivery method, more than likely the federal government would step in and say, well, then you're not going to receive federal dollars. That's fine if we can afford that, but the reality is we have a huge payroll here that we have to pay. We have a lot of families, a lot of teachers depending on an income funds. So for us to stay financially solvent, yes, we have local control, but in a sense, we really don't, because we have to keep our doors open if we want to pay our bills. What are your feelings towards that if we move to just a straight distant learning component? Would we be funded?
No. TA Commissioner said that we must have our doors open to offer campus-based learning also.
So while we have local control, we really don't have a choice of what we're offering.
We have control with these guidelines.
Right.
And that's what's difficult, is because we don't get those guidelines until last week. And then there are some districts in the state, they had already made a choice that they were going to do all online instruction. And, so they're having to they're very large districts now, and they're trying to, I'm sure, do a major pivot on how that's going to look to be able to bring students on campus. And so it has caused, Ms. DeVos is correct. We will figure it out, but we need the rules so we can figure it out, and that's been the difficult part.
Well, I wanted to make that point because I think it's real important that our parents and our community understand it's not that we have an option of just do straight distance learning. We don't have that option by the mandates that are being sent out to us. We have to offer an option of both, which makes it very difficult because there is so much fear, and people are so stressful about sending their kids. It's the reality that we live in today, and all we can do is put the safety protocols that we can and follow up the guidelines that we can. At this time, I will open it up to any other board member that has any comments.
I personally support it. I just won't be surprised if you're not coming back to us in a couple more weeks presenting another calendar that pushes it back even more. We might just have to start having school in June or July for next year, and just for the pure safety factor. And eventually, the fear factor is way out there right now. I don't think you could calm that down if you tried. And I think if we finally get our feet wet and just go for it, I think we'll all be settled down and feel better about it. But I personally don't want to be responsible for 16 kids getting in a room right now at this time with what's going on. Getting in any building environments like that. So I support definitely pushing it back. And again, I won't be surprised if it's a moving target and we don't know the future, but I hope eventually I hope we hit the 24th target then.
Or at least if the TA would give us the option to do full online, so we could just start and, at some point. So
Right.
they've either got to give a little or, but to do it under these constraints, it's a little more difficult, and safety has to be that driving force.
I know the parents are eager for us to come back to, safety in there, but they want those kids need normal again. Whatever it looks like now, they need that mentally, physically,
Yes, they do.
emotionally, and they're worried about them. And got stopped at Walmart. Are we all still staying in school? Are we still gonna do this? I hope so, yes, as far as today, yes.
Yes.
So they are eager and also reserved to the fact that it may change. So I don't think they'll be surprised by this at all.
Well, and on that note, you'll see, I'll kind of jump to that because it makes this point. There's a full paper I've given you that has the online registration on it. And so go with that, you see how many families we've started with our online, and we were asking as part of that, who wanted campus-based, who wanted home-based based off of what they know now. And it looked like this. It's on letterhead. It says 2020, 2021 online registration as of today. And you see how many families have registered. And at the bottom, you'll see out of those that they are able to approve at this point, we have a total of 731 that have registered or are trying to register. We can see them in queue. But out of those, you see the students that were able to click the button that says which one they wanted. We have 350 that want campus-based, 231 home-based. I will tell you, out of those 350 campus-based, I have received emails and phone calls of at least 10 families that just this past week want to move back to home-based because of what's happened just in the last week in our area. And they said, I really want my kids to go campus, but I'm scared now what's happening. And so that was another reason we're listening to our parents. I mean, I'm reading every email, we're talking to them on the phone, and we're trying to listen to the heartbeat of the community. And some, but you could tell the fear is really rising up. And so some, they were like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but if that's what's required. And so that was another thing, so do we just keep pushing this? And then they have to choose online, but they have to work, and then how do they make it happen? So are we really doing anyone any good? We're just putting more stress on our families during a stressful time. And then is the learning really going to be at the quality it needs to be if no one's there to support them in the home? So it's just, it's just riddled with, there comes a point where you just have, when there's so many little stop signs, you finally just have to stop and say, wait a minute, what we're trying to do may not be in the best interest of everyone. So that's some information that was guiding our thoughts also is, we have quite a few that I think really want to be campus-based, but at this time they're not comfortable with it.
Is this an pretty good average for early registration?
Well, we started very early this time. So this is, we don't normally start until middle to late July. So this is very early. So I would say, yes, this is a very good response for so early.
I kind of concur with the deal. This is going to be a moving target all year long, and I kind of agree with the deal. We'll probably have to come back and we readjust the calendar. We'll probably have to come back and readjust it numerous times, just because of what's happening out there. And not only what's out there, but also here in Aransas Pass. If we have a spike on campuses, for some reason, we may have to close down the campuses or the whole district for a while, just to hit that spike. And so we may have to revisit this over and over and over. So.
Well, hopefully if we do that, we can that's where the reverting to the online will happen. So let's say if Charlie Marshall had cases that to the point that we needed to shut this campus down for several days or weeks, then we would revert everyone to online learning so we could continue that and not lose those days and have to make them up at the end. That's why when students do come back, we're going to be making sure they all have access to computers and that we begin the training process with families. So even if they're campus-based, the students are being trained, parents are getting information so that they're ready at any moment that we could have to pivot to that. and they would already have that information and be able to do it. And that'll keep us from going into June, July, or next August trying to finish out a school year. So they have given us that leeway. That's easier said than done, though.
A couple points, you know, some parents are campus-based, they don't have anybody at home to stay with the student. You know, back in March, when all this hit, usually the parents stayed at home because they got laid off from their job.
Exactly.
Now parents are going back to work. They don't have that person at home. I think with the safety protocol, and I face it every day where I work, but if it's enforced, strictly enforced, I think we can lessen, keep the curve flat, so to speak, on the students we do have in school. It's just something to keep in mind.
And that's the next point we'll be making. That's very important for the
After the
campus.
first week or two, don't go lax on this, because it's not going to end
No,
this year.
you're right.
I'm also glad to see you push it back. I know there's a lot of pressure on you and your staff, a lot of hard work going through it, a lot of thought process. We know collectively we got to make the best decision for what we can for our staff and our students in the community. And I think y'all done a fine job of doing that, because that is a lot of pressure. Things right now is getting pretty serious, so we got to start making some serious thoughts. I support that.
Anyone else?
So would it be possible then to schedule I was just thinking noon on Friday, because we have to have the 72-hour posting, so noon at Friday was the earliest we could do it. We didn't know if we had enough that could make it. If not, we could do it that evening. I was just trying to
Can't
permit
promise, but I'll try. I mean, if there's
We can do
four-
it at 6 if you'd rather. I mean, I just didn't want to take your Friday evening, but I'll come up here, whatever you can do.
Is there four
We
now?
kinda-
We
Yeah.
have three. I'm not too sure I can get away. I can get here in the evening, but I don't know if I can get away.
It won't take very long, so you want to just say at 6 on Friday?
That'd be fine.
Does that work for everyone? And then we're going to tweak, since like I said, we just had this conversation today, so I'm going to take it to the team. Is 6 good with you, Terry, or you want to do it later?
I got family coming in Friday afternoon, so I'm not sure.
If
I'm
anybody,
on Friday, I'll be here.
if anybody can, we get 4 people here at noon. I mean, I can't come until then.
I can be there.
I couldn't say, because they tell me at the last minute, you gotta work Friday, and I work on Fridays, I usually do 3:30. But,
I can't hear it. Then it changes for me. I'm sorry. I can't commit to, I'd hate to say yes and then not make it, because then necessarily.
Y'all just tell
I
me,
would
and
try
we'll
real
do
hard,
whatever
but I
works
can't
for
promise.
4 of you.
right now, we only have 3 that can definitely be here, so we're gonna push it.
3:30 would work for me better, because
Fine.
honestly,
Is that better for you?
I could do 3:30, but I have to work Friday, I have to leave an hour or so
Are
early.
you
3:30?
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock?
4
Set it
o'clock's
for 4
fine.
o'clock.
Yeah.
4 o'clock? 4 o'clock, Friday. Awesome, okay. Thank you for that. Like I said, I know that was a little surprise to you, and when I got up first this morning, I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, but there was something inside of me that said we had to address that. So at this time, what I'd like to do, I don't know why, I know why I had technology news. I'd really like to go to the protocols, because you're kind of in that mode of thinking. So I'd like to jump down to the updates on safety protocols. And I'm going to have Wayne come up and speak to you about, this is again the same draft proposal you've seen. He's done a few tweaks, and now that you have so graciously agreeing and then we'll officially approve on Friday the calendar change, it gives us more time to work on this. But he's going to talk to you about how we still know parents want to see it and some things we're going to do, but it gives us more time to really shore this up. Then we have a special presentation for you in the safety arena tonight. And then I'm going to have Coach Knotzman come up and talk to you about the latest with our UIL and those pieces that we have. So let me clean my area. All dirty here. All right.
Good evening.
Evening.
This is, like Ms. Goodwin, we've said plenty of times, it's a moving target. Most of these protocols have been, I won't say absolutely nailed down, but as much nailed down to this point as we can have them. So I have made a couple of tweaks. I think you had it in your board book last week, so that's what the yellow is in there, so we'll mainly hit on those. I did, on the very front of it, I will be the contact. If people do have questions, they can call me or email or really any of us up here, but I would be the one to answer most of the questions on that. In transportation, on the next page, you see the yellow part that we did add, and this is something that has recently come up, that the TEA has said that taking a temperature on all these students is not feasible. It's not recommended. They say a lot of them are asymptomatic anyway, so they don't even have the temperature. That is the discussion right now, that we would not take temperature of students boarding the bus, but they would turn in a screening form that we've asked, have they been in contact with anybody or have any of the symptoms of COVID. And they would turn that into the monitor before boarding the bus. And we are going to ask if, for the lower grades, if a parent could be present. You know, if they should know, if they fill out the form and they've answered yes, that they really should. But if they were, then we would, the bus would not allow them to get on there. The monitor would not allow them to board the bus at that time.
When are they filling out that screening sheet? When?
Right now, we're planning on giving it to them on Fridays. They'll have to take it home. If a parent did get there, we got to finalize some of these things, but I would think that the monitor would have some. If the parents showed up, that they would have to fill it out there, but they would not be able to get on the bus until, it's like Mr. Stansbury said, we have these things in place, we're going to stick to them to ensure the safety of all our kids. So that the community will have to work with us on that and understand that we're doing it out of the best interest of the kids. That also, later on you'll see that there will also be a recommendation that each Monday, all students turn in that screening form just before they come into the classroom. So we'll have, the way we're thinking now, that we're going to have multiple entrances into the buildings, and we'll have somebody stationed there, and they'll turn in that sheet answering these same questions before they enter the classrooms, or enter the building, actually. Also, the visitors, we're going to have that over the access control, where the secretaries will be able to screen them before they ever come inside the building. So, kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but at the bus stop, this is where at the beginning of each week, the monitor will screen each child prior to boarding the bus. They'll have that sheet, and that's the way we'll screen on that one. As I'm going through there, if you see something, have a question, please ask. I'm going to hit mainly the highlighted yellow part, because those are the parts that we've had changes to. During the route, we are going to try to open up a few windows on the bus to circulate some fresh air. They say that's helpful in there, so I've added that on there. Right now, we are going with one student per seat, unless they're in the same household. That's still, I forget what the number was that allow us to transport how many?
Per seat, depends on the grade level. The elementary kids can pre per seat.
If they're in the same household, because we may be pushing 20-ish or so on the bus instead of the 12. But they'll be wearing face coverings if they're on the bus. That's any student on the bus will be wearing the face coverings and facing forward and things like that. Okay. Move over to food service. Not a lot of changes there. I have students eat lunch in assigned seats, or we can sit at tables and maintain social distancing. We are going to be purchasing some round 6 foot, like you see where they stand. At the high school, and I'm not sure about middle school, but I know at the high school, that they have to be given a choice. I think that was all secondary. So they have to be given a choice, so they have to go through the line. So we have to work on exactly how that's going to work. But they will maintain social distance, and when we say that, we're saying the 6 feet, maybe 1 or 2. We'll have to look at the tables and see what we can fit, and they'll be assigned a seat, or we're going to remove all the seats that we're not going to be using, so there won't be any chance of somebody pulling the chair down and sitting next to everybody or something like that. Okay, in the classroom, for elementary, we are going to have a couple of reminders during the day about social distancing and hygiene. And in the first day of school, they're all going to be, there's going to be a little mini lesson on hygiene, washing hands, and staying 6 feet, social distancing. Some of the key safety measures that the students need to be aware of. All the teachers will go over that with them. When they arrive, we're going to try to see if we can get some help from the community to not bring students any earlier than they have to, say 7:30 that time. Of course, we're still working with these things, but if we could hold off on that, because we got to find a place to put them. We can't, like, again, at the high school, they would just go in the cafeteria or in the hall there, or spill where they could and wait for the bell to ring. Well, we can't do that now. We got to have a place to put them. And if you have a place to put them, you got to have people to watch them and things like that. So it just builds on itself, and we have to work through all those things. Buses are already going to be there, not sure exactly what time, but they'll be there early, so we'll have to have a place for the bus riders to go. And right now, the idea is to take the breakfast to where they are, especially the elementary. They'll be taking those to the classroom. This one, the next one, all APISD students in grades 3 through 12. We thought about 4th grade, going 4th grade and up, about wearing the face coverings while in the school building. 3rd grade, we make sure we get all 10-year-olds and up. We have 3rd grade on this campus, 3, 4, and 5, and so we don't just have one grade level of kids walking around with no mask. We're going to err on the side of caution and say 3rd through 12 wearing face coverings.
Are we going to be able to provide those selected few that forgot their masks, lost them, didn't bring them that day? How are we going to?
We do have some masks. I don't know if we'll be able to provide them all every day, every student, all year long, but we are going to try to make them available. We have some. I'm sure we'll order some more. We have some coming from the state to help us out with that. And it was quite a substantial number. It should last us for a while. But yes, we encourage them to wear theirs if they would like. And I know there's different organizations selling them. But yes, we will have some to take up the slack.
So I'm a little confused, Wayne, if the state is providing them and is funding them, why would it be an issue for us to be able to provide them?
So they're not providing. I don't think they took a number. I'm not really sure how they got to that number they said. They just came up. Yeah. Yeah, they have hand sanitizer, mask, face shields, and gloves, I believe.
So we don't have a quantity count they can ship to us?
They do have I don't know exactly what the number is. They sent it out. I hadn't looked at it. I don't know if it's changed because they sent out a number, and then they said if you're not going to need them, like some of these bigger school districts or people, whatever, they might have said they didn't need them. So that went back in the pot and they redistributed it. But ours should be in. We're waiting today for they're taking them to the service center as a general location, and then they'll let us know, and we're still showing ready to go pick it up. But I don't think they ever came out and said they were going to supply enough for every kid all year long a different mask. It was just kind of to help
A
out.
starter kit, almost, to jumpstart everyone.
Students in transition, in elementary is going to be a little bit easier to, have them walk down one side of the hall to the next place. We're going to hold the movement in the hallways to a minimum. Elementary, it'll be a little bit easier than high school, but when they do move, there'll be restricted ways that they move so they don't cross each other as little as possible. Interaction with other kids and other classrooms. And we do have face coverings will be worn in the hallways for those grade levels that we talked about. We are getting some signage to help with some of these other things about the bathrooms in there and so on, how many can go in there at a time.
Now, if I was a parent and wanted my second grader to wear them, that's not gonna be an issue with the teacher or staffing or anyone else at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't
It's
see-
optional for students.
They want them to wear them. Okay, on the secondary, it's kind of, not many changes there, if any. Again, the students moving in the hallways, they suggest, something simple as staying on one side of the hallway, but then you tell Ms. Hale that, and she tells you she has a kid in D hall, that's at one end of the hall, and they have a class on the opposite side in the other classroom. They would, if you kept with that, they would have to walk all the way around the school to get to the next class, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's gonna be some crossing, but she'll have teachers out there to watch it, and they only cross in certain areas. We're not gonna allow a lot of loitering in the hallways. They're gonna go from point A to point B. It's unfortunate, but that's what we gotta do to keep them safe.
You can do it with lockers too, right?
I have no lockers at this time. There's really no point. We've almost done away with lockers anyway. We got to where we were only, if they asked for them. We didn't tell them, if they asked for it, they got one. If they didn't, we didn't use it. So that should hold it down a little bit. And again, things like restrooms, like we talked to Mr. Ochoa, and things like that, instead of putting up plexiglass and all that between them, if we have 3 sinks in there, we'll just block off one, we'll cover it with something where they use every other one. Maybe do the same with stalls where they're separated, things like that. And we'll put some signage that each principal will have to look and, say the capacity for this restroom is 2 or 1 or whatever. We'll have some signage. On the next page, starts with a staff guidance. And like you've seen with us, we'll be wearing face coverings if we're in the building. Right now, that's the guideline that's out there. So we'll go with that. And the only other change on that was the face coverings for grades 3 through 12 again, for infrastructure. Yes, sir.
One question. On secondary, you said you only have 2 lunch periods. You're gonna be able to get the kids in there and separated, 6-foot spacing and the tables you got in the lunchrooms. I know in the junior high you probably will, but it may be hard in high school, I'm not sure.
Talking with Ms. Hale, and I just talked to her about that today, she thought so, but we can always revisit that.
Yeah, you may have,
At one time, I had 3 down there,
Yeah.
and she was worried about what that would do with the rest of the schedule compared to how many students we have, and so on. So I put it back at 2, but we have to look at that one again, because you're right, the blunt, they shouldn't have any problem keeping them apart, yeah. There's gonna be some screening protocol for visitors. Again, we're gonna put the screening information there, tape it to the window right there by the, when they push the button to come in, our secretaries can screen them on the spot, and if they answer no to everything, they come in. If they answer yes to any of it, we'll have to ask them to leave. They won't be able to come into the building. Vendors and so on, they wear face covers, they'll have to check in with us. Same with deliveries, there'll be some things there we'll have to take care of, tidy up. There's some, what we're looking at is is close contact, exposure, things like that. And the PEA or CDC has put out the close contact. What we're using is our definition. If they're inside of 6 feet for accumulated time of 15 minutes without a mask on, then that's considered exposure or close contact. So
And Wayne, if we're turning away a little boy on the school bus that says yes or has a temperature, what's the criteria for allowing him back in? How long's long enough, and who's going to monitor that nightmare of a flow?
Yeah, there's guidance out there for that, on something like that, if they had a temperature, because there's still other sicknesses, you know, there's things out there, a kid may get well, they'll have to monitor it, go 3 days without a temperature, without taking medication, before they would be allowed to come back. If it's one of these symptoms, it could be 7 days, and then once the symptoms are gone away, then make sure you go 3
But
days.
who is actually going to try to manage that?
Probably. Me with some help, I'm sure. I mean, the principals are they'll have to know all these, and we will. Like we do, we all work together on all these. I doubt it'll all be on my shoulders, but I'll be looking over it.
And to expect them to come with the doctor's excuse is almost impossible, because doctors aren't even seeing them. So we're putting this, you can't come if you have this, but when can you come back? And who approves that? And who keeps little Johnny from not coming back Tuesday when you sent him on Monday?
That's what we'll have to tell them. If he told you on this day, they're not allowed back till this day, and that's where the principals and secretaries and everybody have to be aware of it. And I have some more to add to these, you know, things like that about if it happens on a campus, but there's still so much, there may be a little movement, it's hard to put it out there right now and be sure that that's absolutely, as far as like days or what's going to constitute, like Ms. Cook said, shutting down a whole campus, or is it just a group of students? Are we going to shut down and just be out for 2 days while we clean, or is it going to, are we going to be out for a week or 2 weeks and have to do distance learning?
That is my world in a very small group of people, and it is truly a full-time job. I can't even imagine 400 of little ones and trying to manage safely when someone can come back. And the expectation CDC is 10 days.
Right.
And that's excessive, and these people may only have symptoms for 1 day. And the fever may never come back. The senses, the smell, the taste, all of that just may happen for 1 or 2 days, and then you still having them out 10 is kind of crazy, but that's the new CDC standard. So it can be kind of, if we're gonna enforce something, we need to know the clear guidelines, because you're gonna have parents screaming at you to let them back in. He's been fine, he's been running around the house, and you gotta hold true to whatever standard is being created here.
Absolutely. And I have some forms and things I think that'll help us that we can check and date, and what we follow will be the guidelines we have, and then in turn, the parents will have to follow the guidelines that we
Right.
tell them.
Okay.
That's just the way we'll have to do it, or like you say, it'll get out of hand.
So are you saying we're following CDC guidelines, making our protocols?
There's CDC, TEA, for the most part, they follow the same thing. So I say yes.
And as a governing body, I want to know what we're doing as a district. Are we going to follow the CDC? Is that what we're going to be following?
We do follow the CDC guidelines.
Okay, so when she's talking about like the 10-day example, that's what our parents should expect. If they comes in with a fever, it becomes sick.
Right.
Speaking like that, we're looking at the symptoms.
Yeah, or the onset of symptoms.
Would that child have to go get tested to confirm that he's got the
If you do that, you'll never get them back. Testing's impossible. You can hardly get anyone tested, especially when they're asymptomatic.
Well, I know that.
So I would not take that as a standard if they're,
You just have a regular flu, that ain't gonna be good.
right, you're not. This is, again, it's a nightmare. So be careful what you say you have to do, because it's gonna be very impossible, hard, difficult to implement.
And that's what I want to make sure before I put it out there, that's why it's not here yet,
Right.
to get those things exactly the way we're going to do it.
Careful. Yeah. Be
Close contact, or, you know, that a family reunion, that somebody in the family had it. You want to take precautions.
We're still quarantining those men.
That's a 14.
That's a 14-day quarantine just because mom has it, and they may not be symptomatic at all, these kids.
Right.
And that's what we have in front of us right now, and it is difficult. It's,
Yeah, and the big back to what Mr. Stansbury said earlier is we have to, these are gonna be our protocols, they have to be followed. And I'm not saying you guys aren't, I mean, staff and everybody needs to know that this is our protocol. We're gonna flatten the curve, flatten the line, however everybody else is saying. Remember, it's all about the 1,600 kids that we have. And the guidelines that we have, making sure everybody understands that we're going to relax on it. At some point, it's easy to do, we do it in our own families, we get tired of being in our house. You know, after 2-3 weeks, when we go grab a Coke or something to get out, it happens, it naturally happens. We just have to be very diligent with our staff if we want to keep this out of our buildings. And, you know, there's no guarantees either way. Just like I said, there's no playbook. I mean, all we can do is the best that we can with the information. We got to make sure that we're staying true to our guidelines and our protocols.
Well, shiny side of that is they get home-based learning.
We still have the ability to
There's
teach
no
them,
more learning.
if they're not too sick.
Well, and that's, again, pushing the calendar back, is gonna give us more time to make sure that we are all really sure about all these and things like.
And you
we
have
talked about.
nurses.
Yes, and I've already talked to Sally, we, you know, the contact tracing, going back, finding who all,
Yeah.
we've talked about that, who's involved, how long they got to stay and all that. I have all that in the makings, it's pretty much done before it's out there for parents to read, like you said, and this is what it is. We want to make sure it's what it is.
Right. And it too does change.
Yeah,
CDC comes up with
it's a tough one.
new symptoms and new guidelines. And they had also in the last 3 months frequently, so it's a moving target there for a while. It seems to have pretty much stayed steady now, but just be prepared for the bookkeeping, I guess, part of it is what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah, I would be. Other than that, I guess the next thing, you know, we'll have some, our custodians are gonna be on campuses during the day. More frequent cleaning with that, which that's a big thing, and like I said, we're gonna talk to the students themselves about what they can do. And then Mr. Ochoa's got his staff, they'll be coming in during the day and more frequent cleaning. I've even seen things like, you know, for safety measures, we've had doors locked every day. Well, that means every time a kid goes in, they're touching the door handle. So I've seen some where they're just gonna open their doors and leave them open, so that's one less touch. So there's still some little things like that we can do to kind of help out and you know, minimize the conditions as best we can. But one of the things that's really gonna help is this, we finally got some of our foggers in. And Mr. Ochoa is stay up here with us tonight, and he wanted to show y'all exactly how, if you have any more questions, think of any while he's showing that, you can ask.
I got one more question, just
Yes,
out
sir.
of curiosity, I was getting a lot of questions on it. Like, August the 3rd, volleyball, football start. What are the safety, has UIL come up with any safety protocols for those kids?
Not for the actual start of practice.
Get to the microphone, and I know you need to clean it down like the damn.
Well, actually, he's gonna visit, he's gonna talk
Yeah,
about all of you
yeah,
I
discuss
on this
that
moment.
Okay.
So you hold that thought, just
Yeah.
1 minute.
I didn't see it on the-
He's gonna actually come out and speak to that.
Okay, real quick, guys, hello board, long time no see. As Wayne was saying, we were, my staff and I were being as diligent as we can with the safety issue, getting everything clean and keeping it clean. We've got schedules in place. We are gonna go days with custodians until further notice, so we're gonna have full staff on campus while the kids are there, working to keep things clean. This is one of the weapons we're gonna use. It's a electrostatic disinfected sprayer. A lot of the major hospitals in the country are buying these by the thousands. It was hard for me to get this one. I've got several on order. I got 3 in this past week, and I just wanted to demonstrate what it does. It's got a disinfectant solution in here. It's 32 ounces. Covers, reservoir covers about 4,000 square feet. So average classroom is about 700 to 800 square feet. And and the way this works, well, I'll show you. You just go through, it's like an airless sprayer, paint sprayer. It atomizes the liquid going through. As it's going through, it gets magnetized, electrostatic. If I had a blue line here, you would see that mist I just put up. It lands, but it also wraps around and comes underneath. Okay, you can't see it real good, but you can make it out. When you go through a classroom, all it takes is just go into that room. Now, this doesn't take the place of deep cleaning the room. And I made it very clear to my facility, they still have to do the cleaning. This is the last step as they leave the room, at the end of the day. Now, this can be done in a quick, disinfectant type situation. Say, class goes out to lunch during the break, they go in the room real quick and just spray it down. As soon as this solution hits the surface, it's disinfected, kill it immediately, okay? It's a proprietary solution that this company makes. It's basically, you fill it with water, put a little tab in there, it's like Alka-Seltzer, and it's actually effervescent, it does bubble, so it mixes in there. And it's got the smell of bleach to it, it doesn't have bleach, okay? It does kill all the different kinds of viruses, bacteria, it's got a whole list, I think y'all have the list in front of you. But it works very well, you come through here, you know, so you go in there in 60 seconds, have that room done, and move on to the next one. So at the end of the day, you know,
Does it leave any kind of residue that you have to wipe down?
Nope.
Or even on desktops and
Nope.
stuff?
It
It just dries?
It dries within 30 seconds. When it's electrified, because there are two settings here. You can take it off the electrified setting, and it just puts a wet solution on there, so you can go and wipe down if you want to, get spot clean things. This is going to help us a lot to keep those rooms disinfected and make things happen to be more efficient about disinfecting these rooms. Okay. The size of it also is what intrigued me. We looked at a bunch of them. We had some demos from different suppliers come in, and they had these big old carts and backpacks, and I just can't see my custodians doing it with the fidelity of having to lug those things around. This is very light. You know, just take it around. And this one, like I said, this one reservoir probably do 10 rooms at least. And just switch it out, do it, and go and get the whole school done in less than an hour. So, just wanted to show you that.
Very good.
And that would be, say if by chance there was a kid with symptoms or something in the classroom and we had to leave, that would be the first line of defense. They could go in there and spray it down and then come back and deep clean it and then hit that again on the way out, and all the germs in there should be taken care of at that point.
Very good. We've been looking for something like this.
We have 9, we got 3 in, and we have 9 more coming, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I ask how expensive they are?
They're $700 a piece.
That's without the liquid, obviously.
Yeah,
Just
the
gun
tabs
itself.
are, I think I bought a case for $200 or $300. But
Wow.
there's several in there, they'll last a long time. This is the product, it's called Pure Tabs,
Okay.
and they look like, it says like little, they look like tons actually. Yeah.
And one in one?
One per reservoir.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay.
So you can- Yeah, and that's all it is. Like I said, but this doesn't take the place of deep cleaning, and I stress that to my staff. They still gotta be clean. It can be used in, a real quick disinfecting situation where they just need to get in the classroom real quick and get out. At the end of the day, they still have to clean and then do this again, so it's ready for the next day.
Well, it can be used like, I think part of your protocols is whenever the students leave the room to go somewhere, they're gonna come and do a clean.
Right, that's what I'm
And
saying,
that gives them the opportunity to do that, a real quick clean,
Yeah.
and do the deep cleaning before the end of the day.
And that's all I got, folks.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you. Wayne, do you guys have a protocol provision for the end of release at the end of the day? And how we're gonna manage that?
I have a start of one where I think I have it just by classroom, elementary. Of course, anytime we talk about this, usually we go up through Charlie Marshall one way and then we get to the Blunt. And high school, it's usually different, but it will have to be controlled. We can't just turn them loose. So I've kind of got it started, but I want to look at it again and get with the principals and see what they have. But it will have to be either by hallway, by classroom, one or the other, and they'll have to immediately leave the building, which is what I have to this point. Either by classroom, by hall, they immediately leave.
It's gonna be a little difficult at the high school level.
Yeah,
when
very.
You have the odor
putting this out, I put it on the very last, just to let you know that we are going to send this out to the community and give them an opportunity to kind of do just what you're doing. Read it, look at it, ask questions, input, and if there's anything we've left out or need to rethink or think about, then that's what we want to do. But these are the general guidelines that are out there. Other school districts, you know, I've been in contact with some other schools around, and we're all pretty much close to the same page. But like Mr. Galvan said, when it comes down to it, we want to take care of our kids. So that's what we're trying to do.
Very good.
Anybody have any questions of the proposals? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, your hard work.
Ms. Brad?
Good evening. Mr. Stansberry, answer your question. The UIL, in regards to the start of the seasons, all they've said is expect to play on time and everything. In regards to any guidelines, there's been nothing towards the actual start of practice. The only thing that the UIL has given us is what you'll have there. Is for the summer strength and conditioning and individual sports instruction for during the summer. I anticipate that they'll try to keep some of those regulations in play during the season, but it's kind of hard to play football with a mask on as well as volleyball. And if you see, after the UIL recommendations, I put our guidelines for the updated for July 13th, which is today. UIL came out with last week some new updated guidelines on what they were allowing and what they weren't allowing. The major aspect of that is a few. First, it's the entry, into, exit, or anytime you are no longer, or if you're not actively exercising, you must wear a mask. So that's implemented. Also, they have allowed competition between like one-on-one defense or team-on-team offense and defense. They did say you could not wear a mask during that point, but I talked with the assistant athletic director, AJ Martinez with the UIL, because I was very concerned about that, because it said you can do that, and I said, well, what happens if somebody tests positive? And he said that close-to-close contact, if they don't wear a mask, then anybody that was within that area is under the 14-day quarantine. So my recommendation was to say anytime you are actively exercising within 6 feet, you're going to keep your mask on during the summer conditioning. And that's going to insulate the kids from potentially being the close contact that they talked about. And then on top of all of that, I met with Mr. Bennett and Mrs. Cook this morning, and we were talking about how we wanted, when should we resume? And I'll be honest, throughout the weekend, I was gung ho. I wanted to restart tomorrow, and with y'all's approval. And the more I researched the spike that we're having right now, I got very concerned with the contact tracing, because Ms. Cook said it earlier, there's been a couple of children that have tested positive, and I got real worried about with the kids, how I could be certain, or even the student athletes, how they could be certain that they weren't potentially infected. And so I talked with later this afternoon, I came back, Mrs. Cook and Mr. Bennett, and we talked about potentially delaying the restart of the summer strength and conditioning program to July 27th. That July 27th would be the 14-day quarantine period, and any student athlete that started showing symptoms, that should show up within that 14-day period. I would hate for us to start back and a kid doesn't even know that they've been infected, and we have a major outbreak potentially within the student athletes. And so we were coming here, or I was coming here tonight to get your advice, your suggestions on that. Is the 27th a good date to resume the strength and conditioning?
You're right. We're all big AP fans, football fans, athletic fans. I think everybody in the state of Texas is. The thing that I struggle with is we just listen to information on the surge and the fact that we believe it's in our district's best interest to delay the start of school. And I really have a hard time reconciling myself with the fact that we're saying that it's in the best interest of our 1,600 students for their safety to do that. But we can start athletic conditioning on the 27th in 2 weeks. To me, it's just not kosher with what we're trying to do. I understand, the importance of getting our kids on the field and getting their training going and conditioning if they're going to be able to compete and be competitive. But from my standpoint right now, safety overrides all of that. And I think as a board and as a district, if we're going to tell the community that we're concerned enough because of the current surge that we have, I think we're sending a conflicting message to them to say, but in 14 days we feel that the outbreak we had here in town with some of the students, maybe family members, risk isn't high enough for us to not stop athletics. That's not easy for me because, we're at all the events and we're supporting everything. Like I said, I want that best for our kids, but in my elected position, I don't believe that does a service. That's the best answer for our 1,600 kids that we have. It's not what they want to hear, it's not what their parents want to hear, but ultimately I have to look at the decision and my perspective that I have, and I couldn't support starting at any other. It begs the question, well, when do we start, right?
Yes, sir.
When do we start? I don't know. I mean, it's unprecedented times. Is it once we see that Nueces County and San Patricio County, the numbers of the surge seems to be declining? I'm not too sure what the actual definition of that is. It's so many consecutive days of a decrease in positive cases. Is that what we use as a benchmark? I don't know that. I can only tell you that as a father, grandfather, community member, and elected official, I don't feel comfortable starting yet until we start seeing the numbers decline across the area. That's my own perspective.
Yeah, I kind of concur with that too. Even if that, on the 27th, you're looking at starting.
The 27th would be the week before the official, right now, the official start of volleyball and high school volleyball and cross country and football practice, according to the state. That's not.
My deal, my thing would be, if things are still under control, don't even start yet. Because you don't want to, again, we don't want to expose our kids to any undue harm or any, something out there that they might get sick. So I kind of go with Victor, we need to leave on the side of safety.
You said don't start meeting anybody in August 3rd.
It depends on what's going on as far as, conditions out in the public. If you're right now, the way they're sitting right now, I probably wouldn't agree with doing anything right now as far as any athletics. The way things, with the spike we have right now, but if we start seeing a trend down, then we can revisit that.
I feel the same way. I think we should wait a little longer. There's too much going on right now. We just kind of hate to see what's happening to the students.
And really, it's affecting quite a few kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old relative that just got it themselves. So, how we know that somebody comes in and gets arrested, because they're working out together. It's not just, it's contact, it's people talking to each other and stuff like that. So
Right.
I myself do not, sometimes kids don't understand the seriousness of this. there.
My opinion is, of course, delaying will be ideal, but realistically, if we do everything right, if and when, it's just not, it's gonna be a matter of when that child does come back positive and you have to shut down or send 5 more home. It's not because we did anything wrong. We can only manage this to some degree of practicality and then hope that they stay home when you're sick.
Yes, ma'am.
And they
That's-
come to work healthy. I mean, they have to own some of this. And all of the measures we put in place, I'm telling you, if you're just, I have grown men and it's very difficult to work with. I can't even imagine what you guys are gonna be looking at when they all start coming back. So-
There's a lot of questions that the UIL has not even broached on that subject or anything that the one thing that I'm really curious about, and they haven't said one word, is what happens if we start playing during a season and one of your kids tests positive? Like maybe it's even a playoff game or it's a playoff week, or you've got to win the next 2 games to get in the playoffs. And then you shut everything down. The UIL hasn't given any guidance or any answers on that whatsoever. And all they've said so far is be prepared to start the season when it's supposed to start, which is August 3rd, and the guidelines and all of that. I would love to have them in my hands right now so I could begin planning how practice will work and things like that, but they have yet to give anything to us.
You know how hard it was to handle the staff breakout years ago when in the locker rooms and stuff, and this is 15 old higher than that. It's just you're going to have the tight guidelines and hope that again, it's not all responsibility. The community has to buy into all these rules. You cannot be responsible for all 1,600 and those parents quit caring, eventually. Just because your kids come back to school doesn't mean you send them to school sick. And they have to stop. That's where it needs to start, right there. And then we keep implementing the deeper part of it. Everyone has to own this as a community. And I support holding back on the practices for sure. This is the worst time right now. And I'm not to say it's not going to get worse either. So there may never be a good time to start football.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately.
I'm disappointed with UIL not coming up. Football
No one
starts
wants to own it. No one
starts
wants
in
to.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, it's a liability issue.
If they don't start, they're gonna be behind other teams or whatever. Do we cancel the football season?
Might be on the.
Cancel the first 2 couple of scrimmages anyway. Okay? So that gives us a couple of weeks. But then if they're gonna start playing games, then we're gonna have to start figuring, okay, how are we gonna disinfect the locker room? Exactly.
Just goes on and on.
And then you're not allowed to have more than 10 people in a group, so no parents can watch their kids play.
Right. So it's different.
We've got a ton of stuff to try to consider, and a little bit of time to figure it out.
And we have these guidelines that say on like PE and recess, it's like if you're gonna practice football and everything, you're gonna say that students need to be within 10 feet apart during activities. You can't practice with your kids.
No, sir, that was, the UIL did, which, right or wrong on what they decided, they gave in on that, and they said, okay, you can, because that was the big gripe with coach, like, we can't really do anything. We couldn't hand the ball off during these practices we had in June, because that was too much contact. So UIL came back, which they said you can do those team activities, and you cannot wear a mask while you're doing those team activities, but anybody that gets sick or tests positive, then it's everybody. So they were kind of saying they gave in a little bit on their end, but it's still the same thing, that if somebody gets sick, then everything's shut down, athletic was.
And then everyone knows that child, and everyone's mad at the parents and the kid for coming to school sick, and how dare you. It can get so political, it's a nightmare. So, again, it has to start at the house, and then we implement all of this, and it's not to say it's not without, it's gonna happen. It's going to happen in every district, in every school. It's just a matter of when.
And I think you saw that early on when we started, some of the other school districts started the summer conditioning, we started seeing them lay down as those positives started coming in. We heard it all over the news and everything.
Yes, sir, that's when we decided, I was hoping that because we cut ours a little sooner, cut before 4th of July, it was a week and a half, because we could already see the spike coming, or the rising, and Governor Abbott said, if you can stay home, stay home. And when he said that, I was like, well, we shouldn't be up here. If he's telling us to stay home, then I shouldn't be asking the kids to come up and work out if our governor's telling us to stay home.
But I agree with the delaying, but the answer of when.
So July 27th, we had talked about having a board workshop, or board budget workshop. So I think might be good for us to see, that was the date we were kind of looking at as a target, because it's the week prior to the onset of, so we'll know a little more by that time. So why don't we, if it's okay with you, we'll monitor, we'll keep getting more information, and at that board meeting, maybe we'll make that one of our topics, the budget workshop, maybe we can talk about it again and see what the landscape looks like then, because I know for the coaches, it's very difficult because, they're thinking about a season and getting everybody ready. And so it's very frustrating for them because they're so hopeful there's going to be one. There may not be for anything, we don't know. So I think just to be fair to the whole situation, I think it sounds like we all agree right now, starting tomorrow is not in the best interest of our students, but we can continue to monitor it, and then by the 27th, hope and pray that it's a little better, that we start seeing a decline, and we maybe can make some adjustments and start getting, because I know the kids are ready to come back, coaches are ready to work with them, but we need to just continue to monitor it.
Can I ask, did they take off? I heard a scenario, and I don't know if I read it or heard it, but where they were going to flip the seasons.
That
Did
is
they take it off the table?
that is been kicked about up there. I know it officially, I think quote-wise, they said that's not in the realm of possibilities. That was like the official stance when it first came out, but they've been pretty quiet on just about everything. So I wouldn't put it, I'm sure that's still getting kicked about, but, and it's been extremely frustrating. And hopefully by July 27th, there'll be some guidance from UIL that will help us, because I've already seen, like, there's one school that's already said they're not playing anything this year, Port Isabel, things like that. So UIL is going to have to speak up here pretty soon.
Well, also by the 27th, Major League Baseball and NBA is going to be playing. We might be able to learn something from what they're doing, which might, project help us during the fall. And also by the 27th, that the NCAA is going to have to make a decision pretty damn quick.
I think one thing that would help us, Ms. Cook, is when we do come back on the 27th and revisit, that we have more protocols in place, like you guys have for the start of school, of what that athletic component will be from their athletic period, to their locker rooms, to if we do start a season, if we're gonna, how are we gonna feed them? Are we not gonna feed them? Are we gonna back feed them? What transportation looks like, just more protocols like we have on a given day in our school, what it'll look like in our athletic departments, whether it be volleyball, football, or whatever the sport may be. I think that'll help us make our decision moving forward.
We do have to consider also the band. What are we gonna do to them?
Yes, sir. Well, if UIL, this is only for football, but UIL is allowed this year only that that you can broadcast Friday night football games. It's usually been outlawed until, or not outlawed, but not allowed until the playoffs. But this year they said you can do it. And again, on fans and everything like that, the UIL has not said one thing.
We just mark the stands like we mark the cafeteria and tell them they can.
Yeah, yes ma'am, that's what I was
More than
thinking.
10 per family, and when it's maxed out, they gotta sit in their car. That's the easy part. It's letting those boys play on the field, it's gonna be the hard part.
So more to come on that, but we appreciate your input and all the diligence, and I know coaches are gonna be disappointed, and a lot of our kids are wanting to come back, but I think just where we are for the next couple of weeks, we need to just halt.
And I just want to finish up real quick, Ms. Cook, on the fact, I just want to say it publicly, this decision is not easy on any of us. We don't take it lightly. We've all had children or grandchildren or kids still in the school district that are playing. We realize how much the coaches want to be on the field, and our students and our seniors want to. So it's not an easy decision for us, but it's one that we believe is in the best interest of our 1,600 students and our staff, our coaches that have to learn to protect their safety also. Y'all all read the headlines and see the deaths in the area. This pandemic is what New York was going through, on the first wave. We're just seeing it a little bit later, so we're just trying to be diligent as we can for our families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so while he's preparing the mic, up next will be, of all the times for us to have so many different speakers, but each of these gentlemen have worked so diligently in each of these areas. I think they need to be the ones to speak to this. So Jason Brew is going to come up now and talk to you about our technology rollout plan. So as we work towards that campus-based versus home-based learning, having our Chromebooks that we've ordered, he's going to let us know, answering your questions about how we're going to make that happen.
Good luck.
All right. Questions?
Questions? You trying to get off easy?
Oh, man.
And a few words.
Yeah, what I've done is look at what other districts are doing and piece it together, make it fit us, to go out and do this. One of the big pieces was putting in a protection plan on this, where the students and the families, they pay a $20 fee for this, and it allows us to have a drop, or if they have a keyboard or spilt milk or something on top of it, as long as it's not direct abuse of the product, they'll get it fixed, and we'll give them a loaner while it's getting fixed. And it comes with a whole bunch of different little pieces that go on, just using it, guidelines, not to change anything on these things to go forward. Kind of what, if something happens, you bring it to the librarian gets a hold of us, take care of it. Goes into a little bit about the technology and how to get help if you need help. First line is get to your teacher, second line is then, they'll get a hold of us to be able to get them and take care of it. And it's a lot of it, it's about 8 pages long going through it. It's kind of detailed. I try to hit just about everything that goes with it.
And the filters, you can filter them from watching porn and all of that, and do you get a report, like someone that may be abusing that you could take it away, or?
Yes,
heighten the
ma'am. So
awareness to
whether,
the parent?
what I have out there is that we do have a web filter, I have a internal and a cloud-based web filter that goes with that. So the student logs in with their ID, and on that, in the Chrome, there's a little extension that's hidden behind the scenes, and they can go, when they go out there, it's being hit by our filter on site. So that does that. There's also another one that will do a keystroke. So if they're typing something about suicide, or if they're typing something about going to hurt somebody, it'll send a email out to somebody that says, hey, look, you need to do this. Check it out. But yeah, they are filtered.
Perfect. Thank you.
I read through the procedure.
Yeah.
And it answers pretty much all my questions.
Good.
I think it's a real good document.
Hey, thank you.
I kind of agree. I read through it pretty thoroughly, and it kind of answered all my questions and kind of followed. And I think that it covered all the aspects of what the student's responsible for, what the parents are responsible for. In fact, if they break it intentionally or whatever else, there's always, they're gonna have to pay for it. So all those questions are answered in there, so when they sign out a document, that, on the back page, they're saying they've read that, and they concur with all this stuff, so I think we covered ourselves on all this stuff.
Thank you.
I think it was the best thing we could ever come up with.
Thank you.
Pretty neat.
Just for public information, everybody's watching the video, what we're discussing is the rollout of our Chromebook investment that the district and the board approved, I guess a month and a half months ago, to ensure that for our distance learning, that all our students have a device that they can take home. We did invest, I think that investment was over $300,000. That coincides with our vision and our plan that we have for Panther Pathways to make sure that our students are able to compete with other students in the area, have those devices available and move us forward. So I know as a board, we're really proud of that accomplishment, and we look forward to the results it's going to have with our curriculum. Anybody else have any other questions on that?
You know, in conjunction with that, you know, when we talked about rolling this out, we also talked about hotspots in the town. Have we done anything looking at that, or?
We're looking at that, between trying to place buses with solar panels on it and, or looking at the individual hotspots that go with it, or, keeping the cable one spark light, hotspot that's over at the high school, even whether they can, you know, use the wireless that are here. I can't push it out to the whole neighborhood that goes out that way. But there's still a couple other things that we're kind of looking at to see what if, so if they can't get internet at their house with the devices. We're trying to figure out the best way to go about that, because there's a couple things that we, you know, when you start doing that, some of it affects federal funding, because, you know, they help pay for our internet access here, and that's why we have to have web filtering that goes through this, and they give us some guidelines of what we've got to do to be able to do that. We don't want to become, I mean, and it may happen, we don't want to become our own ISP, internet service provider, for the district, because then we'll be going to people's houses and installing equipment. So I mean, that's just one of the things where you start getting into where maybe finding and helping out somewhere with a fund or something that they can get. There's just a lot of options. I don't have the answer to that right now.
So Jason, is there a possibility where you can, the district could pay for a subscription on each individual pad for the student? If we were willing to make that investment?
The devices, they would have to be, we can find something to do a subscription with like a MiFi, another device. So it would be a device that would be tied directly to just that or the household computers that'll be there. That way nothing else can connect to them. Because we also, you start getting into, okay, well, how much bandwidth does a household need? If you were starting to do video across all this time where they're trying to do their classes with the teachers and all that stuff, that's going to eat up a lot of video. And you know, if they start looking at other stuff that goes out there in YouTube channels and the stuff, whether it's for school or whether it's not, they can eat up the video, their bandwidth pretty quick. And then how do they continue on with that? And then who's responsible for the extra bandwidth that comes with this? So I mean, that's the other aspect that's kind of very difficult to figure out what's going in. You know, like on your cell phone, you have an unlimited plan.
Sure.
To so many megabits, all right, and it's fast as you want. When you get past that, even though you're unlimited, they start throttling you down, and now your video is not going to work as well. So there's stuff out there as well that goes to that too. It just depends on how much it's going to cost a month per kid, per household.
Can you look at what the attachment is? It's pretty expensive.
Mhm.
We priced that. We priced like a live hotspot to put in each computer. And it was pretty costly. I don't remember the exact price.
It's anywhere between 40 and $50 a month per.
Is there any way that we can do, like, for those that don't have it, do like a package deal for them to pick up every week and turn in every 2 weeks or whatever?
Well, the cool thing with the Google suite that we're going to be using for our learning management system is that it allows, the Google Chrome suite allows you to download all your work. So all they would really have to do is drive up close enough to hit one of our wireless access points at any of the schools, download their content that they need, and then they can go on home and do their content and come back, and it, you know, syncs back up with the net. So that's one of the other things that's going to be kind of helpful.
Yeah. Ms. Cook, with the push from the federal government for us to do distance learning and make sure that we're reaching all our disadvantaged kids, are there any federal funds that are possibly out there?
TEA they have a task force for connectivity, I think is what they're calling it, and they're looking in, they realize that this is an issue across the state, but we've not received any direction or indication of what the assistance might be at this point. They've just done a survey, what is needed, and we're waiting, and of course we'll keep looking, and then I know we have some organizations even in our area that want to help out families, so we might could set up like a, you know, separate scholarship type fund to help out families. So there's lots of options we're looking into, but there's no real solid answer for not just our district, but any district in the state.
Well, just like the Dairy Queen still have theirs, and the library, public library, there was hot spots throughout town that was just for free, so
Right.
we can always
We can always have that.
make those known,
Right.
yeah.
Ms. Cook, is there any way, do we have a way to manage and to monitor at the beginning of the school year, to get feedback from our parents that don't have connectivity, so we can try to get a feel for what that number looks like in our parents that are choosing home-based learning?
We haven't said it.
I think we had a survey question out there.
We had a survey, we only had 200.
And then that may have been that may have just been the people that had internet that answered it, that said they had it.
I see what you're asking, that might be something when they check out their computer, that might be, so
Right.
That way, so
do you need, so that could maybe be another question we could ask.
they can
them.
help us make a decision.
So then we'll
what
see
we're
when
looking at.
parents are checking out computers and then having to go sit in parking lots, that might be something we could do.
Anybody else, any other questions? Mr. Burrow, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your hard work.
Thanks.
Well, that was, once again, a very long superintendent's report because there's lots going on. The other part was the new hires for a first grade teacher and our AC Blunt assistant principal. Later, that's also, I think we just forgot to move that down, so, because that's actually part of an approval. It's not. Oh, the teacher, oh. Okay, well, they were both in there, so I just, okay. Yes, the teacher is information, because during June, I still have the authority to hire them, so that one's been hired. But the assistant principal will
Board
need have
approval,
your
that's correct.
approval later, sorry.
And it is in the package for
Yes,
action later on.
yes, you have that information. So,
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Cook? We do, board policy, DC Global does authorize her for the employment of contractual personnel from June the 1st to August the 31st. So that's what she's done there with those two hires. Do we have any questions? If there are no questions, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which are the financial reports. 4A is the accounts payable report. Are there any questions from the board? If there are no questions. 4B is the budget status and investment report. Any questions?
We used to get a report from the lawyers that were collecting agency.
Morning, Barbara?
Yeah. Do we not get that anymore on where they're at on collecting and?
I haven't received one recently.
We got $2 million sitting out there uncollected, and that's an awful lot of money that we could,
Do a lot of that.
I'd like to see if we could get that back into our packets of where the status is of how much they collect on a monthly basis, and I know it could land up, you know, for auction or, you know, to sell. to
We
get
haven't
back
had
on
any
the tax.
proposals come before the board in at least
No.
2 or 3 months. Yeah, if somebody can follow up on that for us.
Don't mind, but
Bring that back to us at the next meeting. Agenda item 4D is the bond finance report. We went for the bond finance report in detail last meeting. Does anybody have any questions? For public information, the bond projects were the Quantum Elementary, which is completed, and we are working towards final payment to the contractor for the insurance surety company. I believe there's some more information further in the meeting. The high school gym has been constructed, the contractor has been paid. And the other project is the concession stand that we are still working with to get a drainage study before we start construction, so that project still needs to be completed. Anybody have any questions on the bond? If there are no questions, I'll move to agenda item number 5, which is the consent agenda. Included in your board book are the minutes of the June 8th regular meeting and the June 29th special board meeting. Anybody have any corrections? We have a motion by Mr. Stansberry to approve the minutes from the June 8th and June 29th meeting. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Diosas. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Agenda item number 6 is to consider and approve dress code waiver for the 2020-21 school year. We did have a parent survey that was recently completed. Ms. Cook shared that information with us at the last meeting, and there were several feedback from parents about the financial hardship of buying or purchasing school uniforms and regular dress. Ms. Cook, would you like to share anything else with us?
Well, just that the comments have continued to come in, and emails to me concerning, with just uncertainty. To go out and buy uniforms, not knowing it. You see, we're already moving the start date back. And then, when will we begin? And will we begin on campus or, at home? So they're just with that uncertainty and the stress at the times, the financial piece that some are feeling that they have with the uniform dress. We just really feel like it's a recommendation. It would be a great, I think, morale booster for some of our families not to have that portion to think about. We will be looking at still a dress code though. So we will be pushing out, if you approve this, we will be working to make sure the parents understand it's not a free-for-all. It's that we will still have expectations for our students. So we'll let them, we'll be working on making sure that they understand, those guidelines. I think one of the things I can safely say is we're still not going to allow holes in your jeans, that type of thing. If we want to have hold a standard, even during this time of if you so graciously approve that there's still a standard that we would uphold, just so that, because I think that's what the point of having the standardized dress was. So we still want to do that, but do it in a way that's conscientious of our parents and their families and what they're going through at this time.
I think parents have to understand also just waiver just for this year. We should put that in place.
Yes, sir.
And I personally just don't approve of a waiver. That's my personal, I think we've pretty watered down this dress code pretty much to t-shirts and blue jeans, and I know it's uncertainty when we're starting, but regardless, they gotta wear something, and I think that just kinda takes it off the table for the teachers to have to monitor something else, to tell a young lady to cover up her privates or her breast or whatever. You don't need to deal with that, and then the drama that comes with the mother and the parents that come and defend it, and it's just, I think our dress code is pretty lenient, but still does not, it gives those teachers that authority to say, you can't, that's not appropriate, and not have much debate. If you open it, you say no free-for-all, but you'll be monitoring that. It's a lot of work when they get to wear what they wore all summer school. I think it can be very problematic for everyone. So I personally don't agree with watering it down anymore by a waiver, just to hope that they understand a new standard that they're gonna have to meet, and then maybe not even agree with it at the time when we're debating it. So that's just my stance on it.
Is there any other comments?
Well, I was thinking more of the fact that just kind of waive the type of shirts, the color of the shirts, that where they
You're talking polo, correct? This
Yeah.
polo type shirt?
Yeah, they wear like a t-shirt, polo shirt, and just waive, the dress code's still there, just waive the requirement for the color of shirts and the type of shirts. But the deal where they can't wear shirts with drug insignias and gang breaks and all that kind of stuff is still there. That's in the rest of the dress code, just waive that part of it, and that way allow them the opportunity to be able to purchase any type of clothes, shirts kids need to wear.
So, Ms. Cook, was your understanding in visiting with the parents that they were referring to the polo uniform shirts?
Yes, and I believe that some of, the certain type of pants too, I believe.
Cargo shorts.
Cargo, yes, cargo type, what did you hear?
There's restrictions on colors.
And the restrictions on the colors, yes.
For the pants.
No, for sure.
The shirts.
We've expanded the color three or four times over the years.
It's pretty much everything that.
Cargo pants, outsider pants, way much more expensive than
Khaki, Wayne, is it khaki and blue jeans?
Khaki and blue jeans.
And cargo shorts, the pockets on the side are?
Those are not allowed according to our standard model dress
Or cargo
code.
pants.
It'd be a 5-pocket jean. I mean, the bottom line is this, regardless of what we do, there's always going to be a dress code. And as long as most of us have been on the board, or we've been students ourselves, there's always going to be a pushback about what the school is requiring students to wear. That's just what it is. And I agree with the Dale to an extent that we have watered down this dress code over the years, to where it's basically.
You go to other districts and there's midriffs and there's breasts and there's backsides hanging out of skirts and shorts, and it's another thing to police that I think if we open that up, there's gonna be that selective few that just pushes that gamut, and then, you're gonna if you're gonna rewrite it, then rewrite it real specifically, because it's gonna be needed. It's not just as simple as changing the color of a shirt that they wanna wear. I think we give them 10 different colors as it is already.
Yeah.
So John, are you saying what you were looking at or proposing was to suspend just the school polo uniform color shirts?
Yeah, yes, and just let, because that way they still have restrictions as far as, if it goes out later in the dress code, there's restrictions on what, no holes in the pants, and the dress
You're not
can't be
asking for
so,
that.
so it can't be, shorts can't be so high, and the dress is gotta be a certain length. All that's still gonna be there, we're just kind of saying that the color you wear doesn't matter.
The school uniform portion, polo shirts?
Yes.
Specifically?
Yes.
Anybody else have any other comments? We'll be talking about 3-button polo.
Or just like Terry has on that shirt right there, I don't think that's not allowed in our dress code because it's not solid, but down shirt color. But a kid could, I'm saying maybe you can put that in there as far as the color of shirts, it doesn't matter. As long as it still meets the standards of everything else in the dress code.
So what I hear the board members saying, I believe, I could be wrong here, is that they want to issue a waiver for 1 year for the school year 2020 to 20, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have a waiver for button-down shirts. They want to wear them next year, but we're not going to allow it. If we're going to change it, let's change the procedure. I personally don't think the waiver is going to do
Well, I'm going to put it to a vote. Everybody has their feelings on it. Do I have a motion to approve a 1-year waiver for specific components of the dress code that specifically include polo-style shirts with 3-button, is it 3-button, Wayne? 3-button shirts?
I don't know if it designates a button, it might, but we can word it the way.
Polo style shirts
Yeah.
specifically and only to the dress code.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
So,
I have a motion by Mr. Rector. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Molinak. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
We have Ms. Diossis and Mr. Stansberry. Opposed, motion carries 4-2. We need to be as specific, as I just said, that's the only waiver is for those polo shirts, nothing else. Everything else stays the same. Clear? One of the great things about our democracy. For 1 year, specifically 1 year. For those people watching, it's a great thing about our democracy, we can agree to disagree and move on. So. Give me 1 second. Agenda item 6B is to consider and approve the auditor for the 2020 financial audit. For public information, this is a routine standard item that we do every year, approve an auditor. Included in your board package is the engagement letter from Laborn and Kieschnick. They completed our audit last year. We've had time to look at it over the weekend. Does anybody have any questions on the engagement letter? If there are no questions, we have a motion to approve the auditor as recommended by administration.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Molinak. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Agenda item 6C is to consider and approve the interlocal agreement resolution for UBC Health Plan. If you guys will recall, we did approve becoming a district of innovation, and one of the parameters allows us to provide choice to our employees. And I believe Ms. Stansberry has some information.
What, the other stuff? Can you hear me? Basically, the information that I put in the packet, just wanted to show a comparison of what Blue Cross Blue Shield, that our current TRS Active Care is going to look like compared to what, what the UBC plan is. And to give you just a little background, a reminder of, like Victor said, is that right now, under the law, we are a school district that's less than 500 employees. We are required to offer the TRS Active Care insurance. We are also prohibited from offering any type of, I'm going to say, competing or alternate plan. When we became a district of innovation, we have become flexible, where we can change the school year, and one of the options was that we now can offer an alternate health insurance plan. This insurance plan is through the co-op. Well, it's a cooperative. And our current First Financial, who takes care of our cafeteria plan, is who is in charge of implementing this. There is a loophole for offering the alternate plan, and the DOI, becoming a district of innovation, that is the loophole where we are allowed to offer. In January, we're hearing that TRS is not happy because of school districts that are offering. I mean, it's taken away their customers. So in January, when the new legislature meets, we really are expecting the DOI portion or the loophole to be closed. If we do not offer this now and include the interlocal and approve it, and they do close the loophole, we will never be able to offer another plan. We would have to stay with TRS. With all the information that we're getting, the UBC plan will be Cigna, where right now TRS is going to be having Blue Cross Blue Shield. Pam compared both plans, both companies, and their plans is what I put in the board book. Overall, the plans are very similar. We had our rep to get a list of all the doctors. We compared both plans. They're very similar. Hospitals, very similar. So the only really difference between the TRS Active Care and the UBC plan is the premiums. And overall, the premiums for each plan under UBC is less expensive. There's one hitch. We have 179 employees currently enrolled in the TRS Active Care out of about 300 employees. We have to have 55% of those that are already taking the TRS Active Care, 55% of those employees have to take the new plan for this to actually go forward. If we don't get the 55%, then it goes away and we're done. So actually right now, we just need permission or for y'all to approve the interlocal so we can get this moved out. We would have, the enrollment would be side by side where you're getting a choice. It will all be online enrollment. Of course, we'll have Pam in her office available to answer questions. The one thing is just it'll be from, let's see, it would be July the 20th through August the 21st will be online. And then we're set to go, it would begin on September 1.
Is there any this seems like a no-brainer. Is there any
Yes.
reason why we wouldn't do this? And is there any downfall to it?
Actually, all I've heard is they keep asking, when can we see the new plan? They're all kind of excited. There is one other little caveat that we have to have at least one employee stay on TRS Active Care. So I don't know. We probably will have somebody.
Well, some people like Blue Cross and just stay there.
I can't believe the premiums. This is crazy when you
Yes,
pay for.
they're very high.
What's interesting, Rockport, Bridgeport, and Madison,
Have those districts approved, or are they considering offering?
No, the other districts, from what Pam was told, that are in the list, those 3 districts, have approved going forward with this,
To offer it to their employees?
to offer it to their
But
employees.
they haven't had the enrollment.
And those are just the 3 that are in Region 2. There's districts all over the state that are going to it, but I do not have the list of that.
Do they have a deductible they gotta meet?
I beg your pardon?
A deductible they gotta meet before it kicks in?
Like pre-existing type?
No, just a deductible before any of this
Oh.
actually takes over.
I do have some more details. If y'all want to see what those deductibles are, I can either email them to you or I can print them out and pass them out. I just didn't bring the rest of that with me.
I think the important thing is the premium, because it's gonna save them 30 to.
He's right though, as long as their deductible isn't $5,000 before anything kicks in.
Mine is, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, mine's $6,000 before I can
Use it.
And they were comparable when you made those comparisons, Ms. Stanley?
I think that's what yours is.
Were they comparable when y'all made the comparisons?
You don't have copays.
I need a magnifying glass to see this. There is an enhanced plan for the UBC, which is more the top of the line, and comparing it to the TRS Active Care. Pardon me, I cannot really see this, it is so tiny. The deductible for the TRS plan was like $1,200 per family member, where it was $1,500 in the UBC plan. But out of pocket was like different, where it might be $7,000. I mean, it switches back and forth, so there's a lot of details that I can't email to y'all to see.
That's fine, and I guess the takeaway is the fact that we're offering our employees a choice.
Yes.
They can go through the details and decide what
Yes.
theirs is. Just the fact that we're able to do this with our District of Innovation designation. Are there any other questions for Ms. Stansberry? There is a interlocal agreement resolution that's attached. I'm not going to read that tonight, but we will be approving that if the board so chooses. So are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, do I have a motion to approve the interlocal agreement and resolution for UBC Health Plan? I have a motion by Ms. Diostas and a second by Mr. Stansberry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Ms. Stansberry, thank you. Next item is 6D, to consider and approve a budget amendment. In your board book is the amendment. The Texas Agriculture had extra surplus of food and storage. APISD received an additional funds from TXU and PSUSDA to purchase the food. So we're looking at increasing that budget account code by $27,500. I have a motion by Mr. Stansberry to approve the budget amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. 6E is to consider and approve a resolution to align with the revised UIL recommendations regarding physicals for the 2020-21 school year. You're up.
The UIL, I believe Legislative Council in May approved, usually UIL asks for physicals 7th grade, 9th grade, 11th grade. Our board policy is we require a physical every year. In May, UIL came out and said because of the COVID-19 situation, how they worded it is very difficult to understand, but essentially said if you've had a physical before, and sometime between 7th and 12th grade, and you have no medical, you fill out your medical history form, there are no medical issues, then they are waiving the physical requirement for this school year. And needed a approval or resolution from y'all to go with their recommendation.
Anybody have any questions? And Ryan, if you understand, they're doing it because of
COVID, that with the live doctors and all that stuff, that they didn't want kids going to get a physical, that, you know, I mean, I guess it's one of the, stay out of the doctor's office if you can.
I certainly don't have any issues with it. It's just, I would preface it that say that we'd be on a waiver basis for 1 year. I mean, I'm concerned with making sure all our students have their physical.
Yes, sir. Yes, this is, it's just be for, and even with UIL, this is for this year only, and then we would return back to our annual physicals.
So if you got a physical on file for a kid, you don't have to do it.
Correct, yes, sir. So right now, every incoming 7th grader is going to need to get one. And then after that, if you've got it and you've had no medical issues, then you will not, you'll just need to fill out the medical history form, and that's good enough.
Are we still going to provide that service for them somehow to, like we used to have it?
Well, we can't right now, like with everything. If we are going to in the future, like this, you know, 7th graders are tough. Well, they've called, and there are several doctors in the area that have performed the physicals that they can go in. But that's the best we can do right now for the incoming 7th graders.
Okay. Well, we have at least a resource for them.
Yes, ma'am.
Willing to take them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? A motion to approve the resolution to suspend locally established requirements in FFAA local for annual physical examinations to align with the revised UIL Constitution and contest rules for the 2020-21 school year. Motion by Mr. Stansberry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullinax. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you, Coach Hudson. 6F is to consider and approve the mutual release agreement with Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America. No, it's This has to do with Falk Elementary and the money that we were holding.
Yes, we have a retainage, you'll see in a release agreement of $589,046.97. That was the retainage we've held from Kruger. They have since, Travelers and Casualty has taken over in this process. I believe they filed for bankruptcy. I don't have that documentation, but Travelers has taken over finishing out their project, or this project. So they've been working with our staff to look at the punch list. You also have that document that shows the punch list items. And also, we've worked with them on the warranty pieces to ensure that we're covered and that all warranties are in place. They have worked very well with Charlie and his team. Todd has also been involved. I had Todd give me updates as of today, and he said he would also be continuing to work with Charlie to do the final walkthroughs to ensure that, according to this release agreement, that all of the punch list items are finalized. I think you saw, if you look through that punch list, there are very small items now that are left to do. So I did send it to our attorney, had her look at it, give me advice on is there anything that was missing, and she felt like that if we felt comfortable that the punch list items were at a good place, that at this point, because pretty much they're at the point now, they need us to release the money, so they will continue. They kind of are using that as a little leverage, I guess. So we felt like as a team and in consultation with the attorney that we were now at a good place to release those retainage fees and give this release agreement and put this event to rest.
So the payment's being made to Travelers?
Yes. And they take care of paying out, because I know there was some concerns back before all this started about subcontractors receiving their payments, and they're taking care of all of that now, and all of that's some of those things that we had wanted to try to have a little hand in, and it sure happened. We no longer have that opportunity, but Travelers should be taking care of
So my question is, as we work through this process, what was the punch list prior to Travelers becoming involved in the process? I mean, we're looking at 26 items now. What was it prior to that?
I mean, there was several, but of the major things that were done that way before this punch list came out, but that was taken care of as soon as, I guess as soon as.
By Travelers?
Travelers, yeah. Travelers oversaw the punch list items being taken care of, but the contractors that were involved. That's how it worked. Okay.
I understand.
So yes, they did see that. There were some AC issues that got taken care of already, and some other fire alarm stuff that's being taken care of right now. So yes, it was all just going on.
And I guess where I'm going with that is, I mean, from my perspective, we're the owner of the building, and we contracted with the contractor that provided service who fell, and now is in bankruptcy. We have an insurance company that has a legal obligation to complete this list, and they're going to leverage us to release this money for them to complete the rest of the 26 items.
I understand.
I mean, to me, if it was my house, I wouldn't pay it until they did the work. I mean, so I don't understand why we would be releasing this money without all this work completed.
But I'm looking at it, the majority is completed.
There's 26 items.
But in red, am I looking at the wrong paper? No.
No.
No,
The majority is.
The majority is done.
are completed.
How many items haven't been completed? How many items haven't been completed?
I don't know the exact number, to be honest with you, sir. I can tell you that off the top of my head, I know there's several things they're gonna be doing this week. Fire alarm's one of them, and some interior millwork that was gonna be finished that didn't get done.
And that was the question that when I consulted with our attorney, did we feel confident that this would be completed? We're talking with Charlie and Todd, everyone was in agreement that we're we're at a good place. There's only a few items left. But, I mean, that's still up to you. I mean,
It's just a matter of principle, Ms. Cook. I mean,
no, I
to me,
understand.
We contracted with them and we have surety insurance and they're asking us to pay them before they've completed all the work. The way I run
That's
my
why it's
business, I
been
would-
brought to
Yes,
you
ma'am.
for your approval or
Appreciate
not.
Does the board have any other discussion, comments? I'm sorry? We're holding $500,000 and they haven't completed about 25 to 26 items. Okay. Any other comments? Give it back over. Do I have a motion to approve the execution of the mutual release agreement with Traverse Casualty and Surety Company of America to pay them half the amount of the retainage? I have a motion by Mr. Stanser. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Flores. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Let the record reflect Ms. Diosas has voted not to.
You know me and contractors, though.
Agenda items number 7 is discussion. Time set aside for any board member to address any topics for the future. Do you have anything they'd like to add to the next meeting?
You really need anything
Do
else?
you
on
need
your
more?
plate?
We can do it.
It looks like you don't have to add anything.
Yes.
Agenda item number 9 is to convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.001, concerning any and all purposes permitted by the Act. Section 551.074, discussing personnel. Time is now 9:12, and we'll convene an executive session. Let the record reflect the time is now 9:32. The board is reconvened in open session. Our first item requiring action is to fill the current vacancy on the board. For public information, we did receive 2 applications and we have reviewed them tonight. At this time, do I have a motion to appoint Georgie Alvarado to the current open trustee seat?
So moves.
Have a motion by Mr. Molinak, second by Ms. Diosas. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. We'll reach out to Georgie tomorrow and talk to him. I would like to thank the other applicant, David Alter, for submitting his application. Next item requiring action from executive session is to approve the resignation of Kelly Philpott, teacher at AC Blunt. Do I have a motion to approve her resignation? Have a motion by Ms. Diosas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. And then our last item to take action on is to approve Mr. Bettis as the assistant principal for the middle school. Do I have a motion to approve him? Motion by Ms. Diosas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Time is now 9:34 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.